This episode is brought to you by DraftKings. This NHL season has been as predictable as a puck rolling on its edge. No one knows where it's going, but that just means there's time for your favorite team to figure things out and games left for you to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 254 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes, and I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Mr. Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
A lot, man. We've got March Madness coming up, Final Four's coming, Frozen Four's coming. NHL playoffs are, 3 weeks away. Every team's got 11 or 12 games left. It's all happening now.
Yeah, great time to be a sports fan. I'll throw in seeing the Masters commercials in there. I'm a big fan of that. If you know, you know. I'm going to toss it off to my other co-host up in Wisco, Mac Vogel. What's going on?
Things are good for me. I'm gonna get a little mini vacation at the end of this week here. I've mentioned recently I'm gonna be taking in the Capitals Wild game on Thursday of this week in Mini. So excited to catch up with my dad, get some dinner, and catch a game at XL Energy Center. Haven't seen a game there ever, so really excited about that.
I was going to ask, is that the first one? I've heard it's one of the top places you can go see a game.
Have been in the building for the draft as like a 14-year-old, but have not seen a game there, so I'm excited.
What round did you get picked?
uh, I'll let you take an educated guess.
And for what sport?
Right. Yeah, right.
The Beer Olympics, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, first overall.
Speaking of Beer Olympics, Mac, I know you have a beer league story that you feel so compelled to share with the listeners, so I'll give you the floor.
Boy, do I. I will try to make this quick, but holy crap. I had probably the most insane thing happen to our team in the beer league playoff game that we played in this past weekend. So let's jump right in. Basically, it's round one. Uh, as I'm sure you all can imagine with any beer league, we don't like any of the teams. Like no one really gets along, but this team we're playing, especially, we don't like them. So there's that. The whole game, chippy, but a good game. Really close game, back and forth. Lead changed a bunch of times. Fast forward to third period. There's about 6.5 minutes left on the clock. We are down by a goal. And again, a really good game, but there's been tons of trash talk and not just like friendly, but like lots of like, hey man, like literally like, fuck you. Like, so like people are pissed at each other already. 6.5 minutes left in the third. We're down a goal. One of their guys just like, there's a whistle in front of our goalie. One of their guys just totally jumps one of our guys, like pulls him down from behind, like basically slams him down, rips his helmet off, and just starts kind of like wailing on him. I don't know. I wasn't on the ice at this point, so I don't know what was said or what happened led to it. But from my vantage point, looks like our guy just got jumped. He's not throwing any punches. He's basically just getting worked here because he had no way to protect himself. So the refs are just standing there. we've got two refs. They're just standing there, not like separating them, just like watching this. And again, it's happening right in front of our goalie. So our goalie goes in and just grabs like the aggressor from their team and just kind of like wraps him up, like almost like kind of a headlock, but not like trying to put him in a headlock, more just trying to like wrap him up, you know?
Give
Didn't
him a
throw any
little straight
punches.
jacket or something.
Yeah, basically. Didn't throw any punches. Was basically just doing what the refs should have been doing, right? Um, so does that, and the refs immediately they kick the aggressor out. They're like, "You're gone. Get out of here." Leaves. We're all hooting and hollering at this guy on his way out. Um, so he's gone. And now the refs are having a conference for I shit you not, like 15 minutes. Like we are all sitting here like, can we please figure this out? There is basketball on. It's a Friday night. Our game started at like 7, so like you do the math. It's beer drinking time. People on the bench were like, we want to get out of here. Whatever the decision is, make it. Their decision, the refs, was that that guy got kicked out, got a 5 minute penalty. So we're getting a 5 minute power play. But our goalie is getting kicked out of the game for a third man in.
Oh,
And so our captain is losing his shit. He's freaking out to the refs, being like, "What the fuck do you mean our goalie's kicked out? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't have another goalie." And they're like, "That's not our problem." And we're like, "Well, it kind of is because
Right.
there's 6.5 minutes left in this game. And also, you kicking our goalie out is basically rewarding them for starting a fucking fight with, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
so whatever. There was no argument. He was kicked out. They told us we had 2 minutes to either forfeit the game, agree to play just 6-on-5 with no goalie for the rest of the game, or find another goalie. They actually said that. And we were like, what do you mean find another goalie?
Like, yeah.
2 minutes. Who? And so then we had one player kind of get injured early in the game. Like he hurt his wrist. He was like a forward and he was still kind of playing, but he couldn't really shoot. He was just like passing. Um, and so he was like, he goes up to our goalie, Brad, and he's like, Brad, give me all your shit right now. Hurry up.
Oh, yes.
But there's no time. Again, they told us we have 2 minutes. So he doesn't have time to do all the leg pads. So he puts on the goalie helmet, the goalie gloves, and the goalie stick. And he's just got regular skater shinnies and everything. And he just gets in the goal. And he's like, all right, well, I guess I'm the goalie now. Like,
Dude, this is like the opening scene of Mighty Ducks when they've got like newspapers duct taped to their legs for shin pads.
yeah, dude. Like it was actually the most insane thing I've ever seen. So then don't forget we've got a 5 minute power play now. So we proceed to spend like the rest of because there's only like six and change on the clock and we get a 5 minute power play. We spend the rest of the game in their zone. They dumped it down a few times, so he had to make a few like stick saves, but he didn't let in any goals.
That's
Um,
awesome.
but we couldn't tie the game, so we lost, and that was it.
Oh,
That's
And that
brutal.
and we had like a million chances. I mean, I guess hats off to their goalie. He played well. But then at the buzzer too, like they took another run at one of our players. Both benches cleared. Everybody fought,
damn.
including yours truly.
Attaboy.
And and we just got the results back from like the commissioner who looked at the live barn shit. Uh, he suspended like he suspended the aggressor from their team, one other guy from their team, and one guy from our team. And he even said on the thing, he said about our goalie, he was like, Brad Norman getting kicked out of the game is enough for me and probably too much. And we're like, yeah, no shit, dude. It was fucking too much. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's
in
crazy.
what world is that the right decision that you're gonna kick? Like, imagine being the ref and being like, okay, we're trying to de-escalate this decision, like this whole thing. How about we kick the goalie out of the team who just got attacked? Like,
Right.
what do you think that's gonna do? So anyway, we got eliminated, but that was just the craziest like thing I've ever witnessed. And we'll post on our story on Twitter or something. I have a photo of my buddy Keith just with goalie shit, but normal bottom half, and he looks hilarious.
I love that. I
That's
love that.
great that like the league was like, yeah, that was dumb as hell.
Yeah, I mean it's too late, but I guess it's
Play
good they
playoff
admitted
game
it.
because you said you got eliminated.
Yeah, yeah, it was a playoff game.
Damn, that's rough.
Yeah,
That's rough.
so
Well, thank you for sharing. It seems like tendies are getting no love these days. They're not allowed to fight in the NHL and they're not
Right.
allowed to play their position in beer leagues. So what are we doing here? Um, but yeah, sorry about the elimination there, Mac.
Happens. We'll be back in the summer league.
Well, we got a pretty busy episode here. We're gonna kick off the episode with an interview. Nick actually got to sit down with former guest of the program, Jonny Lazarus, talking a little bit about college hockey, Frozen Four preview, and all that good jazz. So we'll kick off the episode with that interview, and then we'll circle back up afterwards to talk about the league news. But I'm gonna toss it off to Nick and Johnny right now.
All right, it's Frozen 4 time here with Jonny Lazarus today to dive into the 2025 edition of the tournament. Johnny, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, Nick? Good to be here. College hockey, NCAA tournament, best time of year. Spring is sprung, and yeah, I'm fired up. It's gonna be a big week of puck.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're in the middle of March Madness right now, but to me, this tournament is just so crazy every year when we get the bracket because it's just so loaded. Like you feel like any of these teams could really just go on a run and beat everyone. And at the same time, then you're looking maybe like one or two games ahead, and you're like, I have no idea if my team could even get past those guys. So, right off the bat, how are you feeling about your boys, the UMass Minutemen, coming into this show?
I feel good. Listen, UMass was one of the hottest teams, I think, in the second half of the year. Michael Hrabal, to me, is one of the best goalies in all of college. Cole O'Hara got absolutely, I mean, like, I don't even know what the right word would be because I don't think he got like robbed. I think it just honestly like unfair. I like any word you can come up with to describe the fact that Cole O'Hara is not in the top 10 Hobie Baker finalist. List is ridiculous. I think he finished third or fourth in points in the country, 51 points. At a 14 game point streak. Like Coach Carvel came on our show yesterday and spoke about it. Like I don't have to rant about it right now, but he's been one of the best and most consistent players in the country all year long. And the fact that he didn't make the top 10 in the best conference in college hockey to me is ridiculous. But then like guys like Idar Sunyev, freshman on the back end, Francesco Del Elche and Larry Keenan and, junior and Owen Murray, who's been really good. They get Lucas Olvestad back, I think, after he hurt his wrist a few weeks ago. This team's going to be ready to go. And they haven't seen Minnesota yet this year. I know Minnesota's loaded with talent as well with Renzel and Snuggerud and all these other guys. Oliver Moore, one of the best personalities, I think, too, in hockey. I think he's going to be a really funny guy when he enters the NHL with Chicago. But listen, man, that Minutemen team, they play hard. And I'm not saying Minnesota doesn't play hard, but it's going to be a much tougher matchup than I think Minnesota might anticipate.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one of the games I've circled from the first round. It almost wouldn't be the Frozen Four without a really good Minnesota team coming in. It just seems like it's death taxes and that every year. So, I
Mhm.
mean, you nailed it. Those guys are unreal. Snuggerud's unreal. I'm honestly shocked he's not in the NHL right now, but clearly wants to win a ship there for the Gophers. Um, you mentioned Michael Robel. I mean, some of the best goaltending numbers we've seen throughout the country this year. I mean, he played what, like 34 games and was still holding down like a 9.62 save percentage or something
Mhm.
ridiculous like that.
Yeah, I don't know what his numbers are like right now. I don't have them in front of me. But listen, I think he's matured a lot from last year to this year. I mean, he went in as a true freshman, 18 years old. Being a draft pick of Arizona originally, and then they go to Utah. He's now in the Utah system. Beating Canada and back-to-back World Juniors in the quarterfinal, which people forget about too. Like this guy is built for the big moments. And, it doesn't get bigger than this. And, people forget last year, like they took Denver to double overtime. And I thought they were the better team in that game. I thought they were going to win that game. I bet on them in that game. Um, but, I have all the confidence in the world in Michael Hrabal, and Coach Carvel has said it multiple times this year. Like they'll go as far as he takes them. And, if they're going to win this game, if they're going to get to the Frozen Four, it's going to be because of Michael Hrabal.
And what do you think is the ceiling for them in this tournament? Are you pretty confident that this is a Frozen Four capable team?
I have them in my Frozen Four in my bracket that I made.
Nice.
I don't have them winning though in the semifinal.
Okay.
I have them losing to who was the matchup going to be? BC. They did play. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I have BC coming out on top in that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, all roads from that side of the bracket kind of do point to BC. So let's go ahead and
Mhm.
dive into them a little bit. I mean, obviously, the big news is going to be Ryan Leonard. They're loaded on the back end. They've got a great goaltending setup with Jacob Fowler. I mean, James Hagan's What can't you say that's already been said about this team? They're stacked, they're loaded. They were number one pretty much all year.
And they have the chip on their shoulder from last year,
Right.
right? I think that's a big thing. And obviously they fell short in the Hockey East playoffs too, uh, which could almost end up being beneficial. Um, the adversity has now hit them, where
Yeah.
last year I don't think they ran into it until the very end. So yeah, listen, I mean, anyone who pays attention to college hockey knows what BC is and how good they are. And they're obviously the team to beat. So the Bentley game, no discredit to Bentley. Huge congrats to them on getting to their first NCAA tournament. They deserve it. They had a great year. They built a great rink there. They've really uplifted their program over the past 10 years. Great school outside of Boston as well. But I don't think they stand a chance in this game.
Probably not.
Yeah. So, it's cool. But yeah, I think this is going to be like a 7-1, 8-1 kind of final. And then, the other game is going to be a battle between Denver and Providence. So whoever BC does end up playing, not saying they're just going to roll over Bentley physically. I think Bentley will put up a fight physically. But Providence and Denver, I think, are going to beat the shit out of each other. So BC will probably get a pretty tired group, whichever team comes out on top there.
Who are you looking at there? I mean, we talked about Denver. I mean, they've won the
Yeah.
most national championships out of any program. They've got Steve Buium on the back end running things in both directions. So are you
Mhm.
looking at the Pios getting that one there over Providence?
And Jack Devine, like leading the country in
True.
points, right? Like number one scorer in the country. And I think this one is, it's two of the better programs in all of college hockey, but like just based on recency bias and reputation, it's so hard to not pick Denver. Um, and I did pick Denver in this game, but like to me, this is like a coin flip.
Right.
It's a tough choice, but yeah, I just think Denver has the better top end talent. Um, and that's why I'd go with them. This one.
Might be looking at that one to go to OT. I would
I don't know
bet
what just
that.
happened. Oops, sorry. Sorry. I just had like an ad pop up.
Oh, you're good.
You
Um,
said you would pick that game to go overtime?
I would bet that one to go to overtime.
I would like that as well.
Yeah. Right below them in the Fargo side of the bracket, Western Mitch and Minnesota State. How do we feel about that matchup? I feel like that is just one loaded Broncos team this year.
Yeah, and it's funny too, actually. I was with one of my good friends, Nicky Rivera, who's a former captain of Minnesota State. We were talking about that matchup last night, and he said, like, what people underestimate about Mankato is that like they're just built of like a bunch of older guys that like really play the game physically. But um, when you look at Western Michigan this year and just honestly, a lot of being really good also has to do with a little bit of luck as well. Like you need things to go your way, and you don't just see that in, um, you know, the NHL. Like you think about all the good teams in the NHL that don't face injury issues in the playoffs that go on to win the Stanley Cup. I look at a guy like Alex Bump, obviously, who's their leading scorer. I believe was Colby. Colby was saying it today on our show, like about him playing in the NHL as soon as the season ends. Obviously he's a sophomore, and maybe that third year could be beneficial for him. But Colby Cohen, who's really dialed into college hockey, my co-host on our show, seems to think that as soon as Western Michigan season ends, Alex Bump will be playing in the NHL.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is a certainly a I don't know if it's like a strong opinion, but it's a educated opinion. Um, but yeah, I mean, Western is how could you bet against them in that game?
Right. I mean, they have
Sorry,
one of the.
I know I kind of got lost in my own thoughts there, but
No, you're good.
um, you kind of like also think about like where Philly is, and I don't know if they're looking to like rush a guy out of college, but like you know they could use a guy who's had a year like him, even though he's like a fifth round pick and could maybe benefit from one more year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always think like, listen, I was never like an NHL prospect or anything, but like I always think that players of this caliber shouldn't rush college. But then again, too, you look at guys like Cole O'Hara, Alex Bump. Um, it's tough to replicate the year they're having again.
Right.
You know, like O'Hara with 51, Bump with 46 points. Like it's no guarantee if they come back for their junior year that they'll put up the same amount of points. Like it's a great year they've had, and they should be able to capitalize on it when it comes to signing a contract.
Yeah, absolutely. Might as well go out when you're sort of near the top. I think
Hmm.
one of the things I really like about this Western team is I think they probably have the best goaltending duo in college hockey. They've got Cam Rowe and Hampton Slukinski, who was the backup to Augustine at the World Juniors for the US team. And both of those guys have played a ton this year. Slukinski's got 21 games under his
Hmm.
belt. Cam Rowe's got 17. Both have great numbers. I think that's just a great anchor to the back end for that Broncos team.
I'm trying to think of any other team that would have as good of a duo. Usually guys just ride the one starter.
Right.
Yeah, I can't think of another program that has like a better 1-2 punch, but there are other goalies. Like I think of Arseny Sergeyev with Penn State too has
It's a
gotten
good
really
one.
hot. That's obviously again not a 1A, 1B situation.
Right.
But I watched him play a lot last year at UConn and he's just been on fire, I think, for Penn State. And they're a team that like I have in my Frozen Four. Like
Wow.
they're a team that shouldn't be slept on. That program to me it was my dream school. Honestly, like when I was in like 11th grade, I visited there and then I ended up just like never really talking to them again because I had a bad game that they came to see me play and I just like never really bounced back from that. Um, but that program I think like deserves, I don't think they've been to a Frozen Four yet.
No.
So to see them punch their ticket to the first Frozen Four would be pretty cool.
Yeah, they had a monster year. Couple series they had against Sparty, they swept them. And then, I mean, obviously Aiden Fink having the
Yeah.
year he had. I mean, everyone was screaming Hobie Baker there. So, it'd be great to see what he can do in the tournament. They've got a tough one against Maine in the first round. Who do you
Yeah.
see coming out on top there?
Well, Penn State.
Nice.
Maine's really good too, but I don't know if Maine has the offensive firepower that
Right.
Penn State might have. Obviously they have Alvin Boya in goal, who's been again like one of the best goalies in the entire country. But these one and done games, like you really never know. And I do think Sergeyev can keep up with Boya, and I just think Penn State, when you look at a guy like Fink, just maybe a little bit more offensive talent than Maine does right now. But that game is again like even that entire bracket in Allentown, like UConn and Quinnipiac, like that game to me is 50-50 also. With how well UConn has played lately, them getting hot down the stretch, like they're a team that I don't think anyone would want to run into as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think if there's one like 4 team bracket or regional to look at that like could be anybody, it's that one.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, UConn first Frozen Four tournament berth ever, right? And they
Yeah.
also, I mean, them and Bentley set program records with wins this season. So it's been great to see that. Love the in-state rivalry matchup there, just right off the bat in the first round. I think that's so cool.
Mhm.
Let's go down to Toledo. We'll start with BU and Ohio State. Ohio State's had a pretty good year. I feel like they're kind of flying under the radar a little
I
bit.
haven't watched them play once, so full
Okay.
full transparency, I actually am like so unfamiliar with their team.
They're scrappy, man. Gunnar Wolffontein is unreal. That's their big
Mhm.
offensive threat. Great goaltending, great defense. I mean, took Sparty to double overtime in the Big Ten championship game. They never really let that game get out of control, tied it up late, and honestly had multiple chances to win it in overtime and might have gotten a little bit of a gift with some of the officiating there. But, it is what it is. They beat Sparty a couple times this year. They look really good. I think they're dangerous. I just don't know if they can hang with BU.
Yeah, I again like I can't really speak on behalf of Ohio State, but Yegorov with BU, like obviously came in hot, one of the better goalies in all of college hockey. I've watched a lot of Cole Hudson. The game that I called BU versus UMass, Cole Hudson took over in the third period, scored 2 goals, tying goal, winning goal, or maybe the go ahead goal. I don't know if it was actually the game winning goal. But he is unbelievable and so fun to watch. And then Cole Eiserman is electric up front. And, they have a great captain in Shane LeChance, who I just had the chance to interview not too long ago. And obviously, what's Jay Pendoff like 2 for 2 in his years behind the bench going to the
Just
Frozen Four.
about.
So, they're a team that's going to be a tough out as well. I think BU wins that game though. I actually think BU wins that regional. I think they're going to upset Michigan State.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't like hearing that as a Spartan
Yeah,
fan, but
yeah.
yeah, let's go ahead with Sparty and Cornell. Do you think Green can take down Big Red?
Yeah, Cornell plays really hard. And it's Coach Schaefer's last year too, so they have a lot to play for. He's been there for I think 30 years, maybe even more. But like one of the more legendary coaches in college hockey, so I'm sure that's like an emotional game for them as well. But Michigan State, one of my former assistant coaches, Jared DeMichael, is the coach there, and they've redone that rink, Mon Arena. They've really done a great job recruiting younger players too. Levshunov last year obviously goes second overall, which is huge for them. I think that's obviously the highest draft pick they've had in program history. And then Isaac Howard, the year he's had this year for them, Trey Augustine in goal. I mean, they're a fun group to watch. Obviously coming off a big win as well. They won in overtime. Who'd they beat in the Big Ten final again?
Ohio State.
It was Ohio State.
Yeah.
You said that probably. Uh, but yeah, I think Michigan State wins that game.
I hope so. They had a tough opening round matchup against Western last year where they went down 2 goals. They battled back, took it to overtime, and got it done. But definitely a game I think they need to be defensively sound in. Obviously, you mentioned Augustine. That's a great anchor to have back there.
Mhm.
I think Pat Geary's had a great year defensively. I loved what he's been doing physically in these big games, against your Ohio States, against your Michigans. I mean, he was just an absolute wrecking ball at the duel in the D they had at the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. So that was a great game to watch this year. I definitely think they're a Frozen Four team. I have them in my Frozen Four. I might have them getting to the national championship game, running into Boston College,
Mhm.
who
I think
last time,
you got to find somewhere to pick an upset. I feel like
yeah,
because these like hockey especially is a sport like where you never know what the hell could happen.
right.
And to me, I just think BU and Yegorov in goal. Like I know Augustine is obviously one of the best in college hockey. I just something about BU, like I don't know. They're I don't know. I think they can pull it off.
They're definitely winners. I feel like that's a good way to put it. That team is made up of winners. And I mean, you mentioned the guys from the World Junior team that have already gone and done something like that. So I think they've
Yeah.
got the attitude to do it.
Even
I'm,
Quinn Hudson too, like doesn't get
yeah,
enough love.
he had a great year. I'm delusionally trying to talk myself into Sparty winning a national championship because the last time
Mhm.
they did it against BC.
Mm. History sometimes repeats itself.
Right? That would be nice, but
Yeah.
wishful thinking. So that's pretty much the first round. We mentioned here and there Hobie Baker a little bit. Who do you have as sort of like your front runner and then maybe a dark horse?
I mean, I think they're just gonna give it to Ryan Leonard. Um,
Seems like it.
yeah, like 29 goals. He should hit 30. Um, the name, like I think a lot of the Hobie Baker selection also has to do with like the, for lack of a better term, like clout, right?
Yeah,
Like Ryan Leonard probably has the best chance of like having the best NHL career of everyone in college right now.
probably.
Um, and that goes a long way too. But like you can't knock what he's done. I just think to me, like he's surrounded by so many other talented players, and that's why like I have such passion for Cole O'Hara, like deserving it.
Yeah,
Not that he's not surrounded by other good players, but like he was so clearly far and above everyone else on his team this year and really carried UMass in the second half of the season. Like they're not here without him.
yeah,
Um, and I think that's so important when it comes to giving out this award that it's a shame that his name isn't up there. But I mean I do think it's Ryan Leonard. Like it's so hard not to give it to him. And I think Isaac Howard deserves some recognition too. Um, similar situation to O'Hara, like he's surrounded by good players, but like is so far and above like the most talented one this year. And I think he scored so many big goals, like 25 plus goals. I don't know his exact number, but I know it's north of 25. Um, and the swagger that kid has too, like
oh,
unbelievable. So
I mean, if the award was for swagger alone, he would have won this thing last year.
yeah, I guess one name too that I haven't watched a lot, but I've seen a lot of Islander fans posting about him is this McClinsky from Holy Cross.
Okay,
Um, I didn't watch a single Holy Cross game,
me neither.
admittedly, just because like, listen, I played in the Atlantic Conference, like, and I know that, and people shit on it. Like, it deserves a lot more credit than it gets. Like, one of my roommates, Joey Duzak, my junior year, I think he put up like 50 plus points. He signed an NHL contract with Toronto. Like, he was unbelievable and played that way against like the bigger teams too. Like, he was unreal against Ohio State. Like, every tough game we had, he was the one that stood out. And I think he got knocked for just playing in the Atlantic and putting up a lot of points because the Atlantic is very disrespected. So I wanted to give McClinsky like his flowers, but I didn't watch him play, and I haven't watched him play, so I can't like necessarily speak to him as a player. But I think the numbers he's put up is incredibly impressive. I don't think he'll win though, just because of the conference he plays in, which is understandable. But sometimes that does piss me off. Like especially because I think I saw he like had the most power play goals in the
Yep.
country. Is that or tied maybe?
Yeah.
Um, but like you look at that stat, and then you look at a guy like Cole Eisman who also has I think 10. Um, and it's like you're going to pick the guy who plays for BU because he plays in Hockey East over the guy who plays for Holy Cross because he plays in the Atlantic.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you sort of see it with the Heisman in football too. Like you
Yeah.
had that running back for Boise State this year who had like 3,000 rushing yards across like I think it was like 10 games or something
Mhm.
just ridiculous like that. So, um, it definitely kind of matters where you play and where you go, but I agree
Yeah.
with you that there's definitely conferences out there that deserve more respect than just, Hockey East, Big Ten, that kind of stuff.
Respect the Atlantic,
There you
but
go.
but we're probably just never going to see a Hobie Baker winner come out of the Atlantic. Like that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, I could see that. All right. National championship pick. Who we got?
I think I have. I'm just gonna pull up my bracket again. Um, we were robbed of it last year, and I'm probably gonna change it honestly a couple times. But I did put BC over BU because
Oh,
I really wanted to see that matchup last year, and we didn't get it.
that would be a bloodbath.
So I think my frozen four is BU versus Penn State, and then BC versus UMass. Actually,
I like that.
yeah.
I could
You?
see that happening. I feel like I can't pick against BC to win the whole thing right
Yeah.
now, and I'm still like interchanging my Frozen Four on like an hourly basis.
Yeah, and I will until Thursday.
There you go. I mean, yeah, that's
Mhm.
just smart investing, right?
Mhm.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. Really appreciate it, and we'll definitely keep an eye out for the Minutemen and the tourney this year.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick, and also thank you to Johnny for doing that interview. I hope anyone who's interested in the college hockey scene enjoyed.
Yeah, big thanks to Johnny for doing that. I know he's a really busy guy, so we appreciate the time as always. And hopefully, Sparty does a little bit better than he thinks they're going to do. So, fingers crossed.
There you go. Well, we got some big Washington Capitals news to kick off the episode. A pretty significant signing and one that I know a lot of Caps fans have been anxiously awaiting. But they have signed Jakob Chychrun to an 8-year, $72 million extension. That comes out to 9 million AAV for those who can't do math. Uh, that's a big ticket, boys. This is probably your ace defenseman going forward, especially after Carlson retires. So you get your number one D man locked up. How are we feeling about the deal?
A little bit of chicken fried.
Well said.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I think this is a good deal. I think it'll be an even better deal as it goes on, as the cap continues to go up. We all know it's going up a little bit. Next year, I'm sure it'll go up again at some point during the 8-year contract after that. But I mean, to put this in perspective, I was looking at this and I had a buddy reach out to who kind of a hockey casual and was like, is this good? Is this bad? I don't know, like money in the NHL. Just a friendly reminder that Seth Jones is making 12.5 million a year. So like if that tells you anything, Chychrun at 9 mil for 8 more years, I'm cool with it.
It's the Roman Yossi deal. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he's had a hell of a year. And offensively speaking, I mean,
He's third
he's
in goals by defenseman, 18.
yeah, yeah, he's having a heck of a
Only
year.
Werenski and Makar above him.
I know he's had a couple injury bugs in the past. I know some people maybe have a little bit of trepidation about that, but I mean, I'm a Pens fan. I hate the Capitals till the day I die, and I will say this is a pretty fair deal, especially knowing the cap goes up. Um, Ironically enough, he did miss practice earlier this week due to a cut that he got from a skate in the Caps' last game against Florida. So,
Yeah.
um,
Good to
also.
see him. Good to see him back on the ice this morning.
Yeah, they said it was a serious cut, but it wasn't like he slashed like ligaments or anything. I guess it was just a pretty deep
They
nick.
said he
So
he came close, but he narrowly avoided something very serious. It was like a skate in the corner, a rogue skate in the corner.
Not a huge fan of light bulbs is what the
I
internet is
saw that, man.
circulating.
I he's such a conundrum. I mean, we all know about his weird diet stuff. He's kind of a health freak, so
He's
Um,
primal.
yeah, he's definitely that's a good way
Yeah.
to put it.
He's primal.
Uh,
I think Dylan Strome said he uses beeswax candles to light his house, not
all
light
right.
bulbs.
Okay. Yep.
That just seems wildly inconvenient. Like, you know how like
Whole place
people,
gonna burn down,
well, yeah,
but
that too, but like, you know how like people post videos of like their little like stupid morning routine? Like,
yeah, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like his from like 6:30 a.m. to noon is just lighting every candle in the house so he can
Right.
see
Yeah.
where he's going.
Yeah, and then when he's done, he's like, "All right, well, I gotta head out, so I gotta turn off all the lights."
Right.
No,
Snuff, snuff,
Right.
snuff.
Chychrun's definitely big, like cold shower when you wake up kind of
Yeah,
guy. I
Yeah.
get,
yeah,
but he kind of is allowed to do it because he's
yeah,
ripped and sick at hockey. So yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Um, so in other news around the league, and congrats to the Caps on the extension and Chychrun as well. Blackhawks forward Pat Maroon, he confirmed over the weekend that he is going to retire after this season is over. I thought it was pretty cool that he announced that prior to his last game in St. Louis, his hometown, and where he won his first Stanley Cup. And he got in a fight in the same game, which is, just so Pat Maroon, perfectly on brand. So, saying goodbye to what I would consider one of the better and funnier characters in the league.
Definitely.
Agree. Yeah,
Likable guy. I mean, I think everyone was happy for him, not only winning the cup with St. Louis, but, then going for three in a row. That's just a run that, I don't know if we're going to see again for a long time. So, hats off to him for a great career. And I just fully expect to like roll into St. Louis one day and see this guy playing like beer league hockey at like 11 p.m. on a Thursday because I feel like he just loves it too much to give it up for good.
yeah. No, did you guys see the interview too with Darren Pang?
That was a good
Yeah.
one.
Good stuff for sure. Don't miss that if you didn't catch it. Look it up.
Yeah, no, that was solid. I would be pretty shocked if he's not entering the media game after retirement. Feel like he's pretty
Yeah.
pretty personable, pretty bubbly,
I think that'd be a good
funny.
fit. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like he kind of gives me like Bieksa, Kevin Bieksa vibes on Hockey
Okay.
Night in Canada.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
like that comparison.
Could see some type of role there. Speaking of Canada, Draisaitl and McDavid, both out up to 1 week for the Oilers. I don't know if I can't remember the last time both McDavid and Draisaitl were hurt for Edmonton, if ever. But obviously not good news for the Oilers as they are in that Pacific Division home ice race with the LA Kings. It seems inevitable they're going to play each other, but. What are your guys' thoughts on how Edmonton's gonna stay afloat with these injuries?
I think they'll be fine. I don't think there's like a concern of them dropping out of the postseason. I think right now the concern is, where do you fall in terms of being in a playoff position? But as long as these guys are healthy for the first round, they'll be fine.
I mean, the Oilers are currently like about 10 points above the Canucks and the
Right.
Flames, who are both right under them in the division. So it's pretty unlikely they would fall out of third in the division. If anything, it just gives the Kings a better chance to secure home ice advantage in that potentially inevitable series. Again, I've said it before, but the Kings, if I'm the Kings, I'm doing anything I can to try and still win that division. They're not out of it yet. Try and get above Vegas, force Vegas to play Edmonton instead. But back to Edmonton, it's a good test for some of the other guys that continue to get criticized by me included about not having what it takes. I'm constantly talking about how Edmonton is nothing without those two. So it's a great opportunity for anyone else on that team to get some more minutes and get ready for postseason.
Yeah, well said.
Think it's worth mentioning the next three games. They've got Dallas at home on Wednesday, Seattle on the road on Thursday, and then they got a nice Battle of Alberta on Saturday night. So that's a good schedule to see where it's like a measuring stick.
Yeah, definitely. Dallas will be tough, but those other two I think are winnable hockey games for Edmonton.
And Calgary's hot all of a sudden. Won three
Right.
in a row. We'll see what happens. Shout out to Kiefer Sherwood while we're on the Western Canadian teams. This guy just broke the NHL record for most hits in a single season. Uh, I don't think anyone like who is a casual fan and doesn't pay attention to like hit records knows that this just happened. But that's a pretty incredible record, to be honest, from a guy that you
Absolutely.
maybe wouldn't like. I know he's a nail gun, but like think about some of the names in this sport and guys who
Yeah,
hit.
you're probably not jumping, to Kiefer Sherwood as a trivia answer anytime soon. I see what you're saying, but yeah, this is
Yeah.
awesome for him. And I know that this stat is people get weird about the hits thing because they didn't start tracking it until like kind of recently. So then you get like all the old heads being like, "Oh, well, Wendell Clark would have had like 4 billion hits in whatever game against I don't know the Sens or whatever, just Leafs hardos." But um, I'm happy for the guy, one of the few
Yeah.
bright spots on my fantasy team this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick, this next part about the wild finish that we saw in the Women's College Hockey National Championship, I'm gonna let you talk about this one. To be honest, for the listeners, I know about the clip. I haven't watched it. Uh, had a really busy week last week, but I'll let Nick and Mac kind of dissect this.
Yeah, you were overseas. I mean, come on, you were busy watching hurling and whatever else it is that
In the
goes on
motherland,
that goes on in Ireland. But
right?
yeah, this was wild. This is a rematch, first of all, of the last two championship games. So third year in a row, these two schools have met in the final. So 18 seconds to go in the third period. Ohio State is up 3-2. They're like, we're finally going to get over the hump. We're finally going to beat the stupid Wisconsin Badgers. Gonna win our first national championship, in women's ice hockey. 18 seconds to go. One of their players covers the puck with their hand in the crease. If you don't know, that is an automatic penalty shot for the other team. So Kristen Sims throws her hand up when the coach says who wants to take it. She's like, I'm taking this. Goes down. Great move. Great goal. Game tied. Going to overtime. And if that's not enough, like 5 minutes after tying the game, with the entire weight of the world on her back, she just goes out and bags the OT winner. Wisconsin does it again, man. I mean, Wisconsin women's hockey is a true dynasty. And shout out to Mark Johnson, their head coach. And yes, that's Mark Johnson from the Miracle on Ice team, but he has just done amazing things with that program.
Yeah, and a lot of the aftermath was just wild. Like on Twitter, so many casuals coming out of the woodwork telling us they don't watch hockey without telling us that they don't watch hockey because number one, there were people complaining that they shouldn't, people being like, they shouldn't have even gotten the penalty shot. And one of the actual reasonings that I saw someone say that it shouldn't have been a penalty shot, and this tweet had like way too many likes, like way too many likes. It said like, yeah, she covered the puck, but it didn't even like change the direction of where the puck was at. It's like that has never had anything to do with it. What are you
Like,
talking about?
is she the goalie?
And then people saying that the penalty shot goal should have been called off because she went backwards. Brother, the puck is a lot like, and people like trying to like cite the rule book and being like, yeah, you can't like go and then like, and it's like, no, dude, like if you watch that goal, that is not what that rule is about. Like it
No, the rule is to stop the stupid Stamkos spinorama thing from like
like you
10
can't
years
like
ago, right?
go backwards, but she had full control of the puck. The momentum was always forward.
Yeah,
We're literally talking about going like forehand to backhand, and when you pull the puck back, they're
you
like
can pull
the
the puck
puck went
back.
backwards, and it's
Yeah.
like yeah,
Have
because
you
that's
heard
how
of
you
Pavel
stick
Datsuk?
handle. Like I could not believe how many people were like up in arms, being like the world hates Ohio State. They're out to get us again. Like it's like, dude, oh my God, go to bed.
Ugh, it's not that deep.
It's not that deep. That's the best way to put it.
That's
Uh,
crazy. Like, yeah, the puck can move backwards. That's called stick handling. As long as you maintain momentum going forwards and don't just
Which she did.
also like, have we not watched Evgeny Kuznetsov like tiptoe that rule for the last 5.5 years? He goes as
Right.
slow as you possibly can
Yeah.
without coming to a dead stop.
Right.
Still legal. Still pulls the puck back.
yeah, I
Silly.
I
Silly
I
stuff.
I haven't seen it, but I will agree with you guys in the sense that there's always the puck going backwards at some point, whether it's
Yeah.
winding up for a wrist shot or whatever. But uh, we are going to move on to some other discussion topics in this episode. But before we do, just a reminder that this Next segment is brought to you by Prop Tracker, your one-stop shop for all outlier bets for NHL, NBA, NFL, and more. If you go use the link in our bio, you will get your first month free, and that app will give you all the data that you need to make the best possible prop bets on DraftKings. So go do that. Go download. First month free on us, and help support us. Appreciate it. All right. The New York Islanders made their way around the internet for maybe reasons that they don't want it to. They got a goal called back. I believe it was against Columbus, if my memory is correct, over the weekend. And this goalie interference call that ended up getting called back and might cost the Islanders their playoff spot if things, if the hockey gods work things to make it funny. This might be one of the worst goal interference calls I think I've ever seen, if not the worst. For those who haven't seen the clip, make sure you go YouTube it. Boys, what are we thinking here?
It's bad. It's definitely bad. However, I will say, I mean, I've been watching the Capitals all year long. I can name like at least two or three that are basically the exact same thing as this. Like, unfortunately, this has been happening all season long. And I think there's a lot of people that just haven't seen some of the other instances that have been equally bad. It's bad, but if you're going off of what they've been calling all year, it fucking fits, I guess. I mean, they have been making these soft calls where there's even an ounce of like contact. What really bothers me about this one is Merzlikins initiates the contact and like he's pretty much outside the crease when the contact happens.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, Mac, you make a great point. I mean, we've seen a bunch of stuff with the Caps this year. This kind of seems how it's like the refs have been calling it all year. I really think this needs to be addressed in the offseason. And I don't want to
Yeah.
sound like, an old man for the billionth time saying, hockey was better when we were growing up, but like Crash the Net
Yeah.
was like it was everything. I mean, that's what you do. You go to the net, you put your stick there, you hope it hits you. That's just the way you played. And
Yeah.
this to me is just like it's kind of ruining the game because what's the point of even trying to screen the goalie anymore if he can just lean forward and then the second anything goes by him, drop the stick, drop the gloves, mask comes off,
Exactly.
flops backwards. Like
And
it's
that's the
just
problem. They all know it too.
yeah.
Like the goalies
And I
all
don't fault
know.
him for doing it. It's a competitive edge. I mean, you do what you
Yeah.
can get away with, but
Right.
yeah, it's rough.
It's a great way to put it, Nick. Like things change and you can't really control that, but inevitably as a sports fan, I feel like it's always better when you were a kid and what the rules were and the way the game
Yeah.
was. But yeah,
Like this
Merzlikins.
and the quarterback, like protect the quarterback rules now are killing me. The whole roughing the
Yeah.
passer thing, I think is absolutely ridiculous. I understand not drilling a guy in the head, but like when you ask someone running full speed to not push the quarterback to the ground,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mac, I think you also made a great point. Merzlikins kind of initiates the contact there. You can see him give the
He
little shove to
reaches
the
it out.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I will
Yeah, it was
say
pretty
this
rough.
to Islanders fans. If you end up not making the postseason, you cannot die on the hill that this is the reason you did not make the
Oh yeah,
postseason.
no.
That's like saying we lost the game, because the ref took a goal away from us, which it's like don't put yourself in that position to begin
Yeah.
with. You could have won two other games to vault you into a playoff spot. So it does not come down
Yeah.
to this, in my
Yeah, you
opinion.
can't just cherry pick like what
Right.
fits your narrative.
Yeah, don't look now. They're only 1 point out. I mean, this is Columbus and Detroit doing what they do best, to put it, politely. And all of a sudden, both New York teams are chasing Montreal pretty violently. We'll talk about that in a second. Our friends who are also in the Metro Division, the Carolina Hurricanes, may have done one of the most egregious fashion statements in sports history, and they wore white uniforms with black helmets. If you haven't seen the pictures, I would strongly encourage you to do so. They did it against the Anaheim Ducks. Now, here's one thing that I think a lot of people don't know. The Hurricane, and shout out to Marty Huff. I got to give him a name because he always begs me to shout him out on the show. Our good friend Marty, who listens to the show religiously, made a great point. And on the Hurricanes broadcast, they explained why this happened. The league said that Carolina couldn't wear their red, buckets that they typically wear with their white kits because it looked too similar to Anaheim's orange helmet, which I think a lot of people maybe did not know. That didn't occur to me. Um, so that's why they wore black. But I know we were talking about this in our group chat. Why don't they just wear white helmets with
Just
white uniforms?
you're just like creating a double decker sandwich of like dumb decisions. Just don't wear red helmets on the road and all of this goes away.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Nick, I'll ask you this question because you're the fashion aficionado here.
That's a
I,
first.
s- I saw I saw some people say if Carolina wore black pants in this instance with the white uniforms and the black helmet, it could have actually worked.
Yeah, then you're getting like some
It would have
St.
been
Cloud
better.
State vibes, maybe some Ottawa 67s vibes. It would have been a little bit better. One
More
of the
tolerable.
yeah, like one of the reply tweets I saw, shout out Matt Kirby at KirbyCar47. Um, he just replies to the image they tweeted out and was like, gotta stop this colored road helmet stuff. Also, gotta drop these Canes jerseys. Bring back the classic white roads. This looks like Bush League. And the
Yeah.
Hurricanes account responded to him saying like deep breaths, Matt, it'll be all right. And I'm like, will it though? Like,
It
are
won't
you gonna
unless
do
you
anything
guys
about it?
listen. Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
just keep making one horrible uniform after another. It's like win the Stanley Cup, Cam Ward, let's just look like shit for the rest of our franchise
Yep.
existence.
It
Yep.
does kind of feel like that. I don't know, but
Bad.
an interesting move by our good friends in Carolina. Last but not least, before we get to trivia and wrap up the show, we obviously got to talk a little playoff race. Looking at the standings here. Shout out to the Washington Capitals. They became the first team to clinch a playoff spot this season. They are currently the front runners to win the President's Trophy.
Okay, bad. No, don't like that. Don't like that.
Winnipeg's close. They're right there, 2 points behind them. But Caps are number one in the league. Shout out to San Jose and Chicago. Valiant effort this season, but they have been eliminated.
Who could have seen
Uh,
that coming?
Now, here's one team that like we've had a lot of different opinions about over the course of the year. St. Louis, all of a sudden, hot, six in a row, six straight wins, currently in a playoff spot, 8-1-1 in their last 10. I don't know. There's something brewing in
Where the
St. Louis.
hell did this come from?
It's kind of like Bennington after Four Nations was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I am good.
Yeah, then like the rest of the team was like, "Oh wait, we're pro hockey players. We're also good." Like that it
They
is wild. I mean, they've been playing some great hockey. Their goal differential has turned around a lot. They're now a plus 10, which I think is awesome. So, yeah, they're looking frisky right now. It'll be interesting to see what they do to close this out.
got to give a shout out to Dylan Holloway. That dude has
Yeah,
been balling this year. Edmonton looks like fools for letting him slip after last year. So shout out to him and the Blues getting it done. I don't know about you guys. I kind of have a soft spot for St. Louis. I always have.
I'm
I love
fine
that
with them.
logo. One
Kind
of
of
my
Yeah.
favorite.
indifferent.
I mentioned Columbus already. In the same breath as Detroit, they've lost five straight and they've fallen out of that wild card spot. It looks like the Magic may have dried up over there in Columbus. The Bruins and the Flyers are free falls continue. It's, no shock. Boston losing their last six and Philly losing their last five. So I don't know how this is going to shake out. We got about 10-ish games left.
Yeah.
The Rangers, the Islanders, and the Canadians seem to be the three teams out east who are fighting for that last wild card spot. Now, here's the interesting part. A lot of people might say, well, the Rangers are the best team on paper. They also have played more games than both the Islanders and the Habs, and the Habs have 2 games in hand on the Rangers. So I'll let you guys kind of discuss what you think might happen, and I'll pull up some strength of schedule numbers here.
Yeah, the Habs thing is really interesting. In their last 10, they're 5-1-4. So, even though they lost four overtime games, that's still two regulation wins if you do the math there. So I think that's great for them. I think they've been playing some exciting hockey, some fun hockey. They've got the games in hand, and right now they're the hot hand. I'm inclined to believe that they're going to hold their spot.
I would say to me, I think Ottawa has got it locked down. I know technically they don't, but I'm not worried about them. I think they will get that first wild card spot. So let's just
Right.
pretend that's true for a moment. Um, I see Montreal, New York, and CBJ. I do think CBJ is still in the running. Detroit, Boston, Pittsburgh, Philly, you guys are all done. It's done. Like, I
Yeah.
know Detroit, you're only 1 point behind Columbus or whatever, but I just don't see it. You guys just, I don't see it. Um, I think, and I'm changing my answer like every week, but if you were to put a gun to my head right now and tell me who's getting that second wild card spot, I got a funny feeling it is going to be Montreal. I do. I think they've just got the coaching and the heart and the um just kind of the Cinderella story to pull it off.
Yeah, I
And the
agree.
pressure.
Yeah, that too. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I I'm still gonna be shocked if the Rangers don't make the postseason, but I'm also actively really rooting for that not to happen now.
It'd be
Yeah,
sick.
I
Yeah, it'd be
kind of
very
wish I
sick.
didn't have that future on them because that's kind of always in the back of my head. Do you think so?
Future.
Let's look at the Tankathon strength of schedule numbers here real quick. Detroit, hardest remaining schedule in the league. I would
Yeah,
say
they're done.
they're toast. The Islanders, the fourth hardest remaining schedule in the league, so that's tough.
Okay.
Columbus has the eighth hardest, and then after that, the Rangers are right smack in the middle. They're at like 15th. Montreal has a relatively easy schedule, and Ottawa has the easiest schedule remaining. So
Wow.
great
Okay.
news for the Sens.
Can we shit on
Uh,
the Flyers for like a minute?
Oh my God,
I
dude.
would love to.
I can't even believe
The
how
most
far they fell.
boring
So
hockey team.
I love how last year and this year the Caps like they were the last team to clinch a playoff spot last year against the Flyers, who had a chance to go to the playoffs in their home building and just completely bottled it. And then this year the Caps clinch a playoff spot after beating the Flyers. This is just amazing. I love it. They're only 3 points ahead of the Buffalo Sabres for dead last in the East, and the Sabres have 3 games in hand.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. You know, I bet on a game. It was a Saturday day game about 2 or 3 weeks ago where they had the Kraken at home. And I watched the entire game. It was like a 1 p.m. brunch time start. It was the most pathetic offensive performance I think I've ever seen. And at that moment, I realized this team is not good. They do not have enough offensive talent to do what people or fans of their team think they can do. And it's all just torts, grind it in, grind it out all the time. And ever since then, they've been in a free-for-all. So I officially cursed the Philadelphia Flyers. It's all me.
I think they have to be a purgatory team at this point, which is what we've seen from them in the last 5 years. I mean, I know they've had some, a variety of extraneous circumstances off the ice, but yeah, this is just bad hockey altogether. And I feel bad because, like,
I don't.
objectively, I do think Torts is a good coach, but
Yeah.
there's only so much you can do there. And I mean, shout out to him in that game against the Caps. Mac and I talked about this a little bit. He made some good challenges. And I mean, to get a couple of those goals called back or those calls overturned, he basically kept his team in the game. I mean, there's only so much that man can do.
hmm Yeah. Philadelphia, second easiest schedule remaining, so just keep that in mind. Real quick, don't want to be too East biased, but just looking out West, we've got what? Calgary, Vancouver, and St. Louis battling for that last spot. St. Louis kind of dead in the middle, so like a 50-50 schedule, if you will. Vancouver has the ninth hardest schedule remaining, so that kind of sucks for them. They've got a Winnipeg, Dallas, Vegas, Colorado, all still on their schedule. So that's pretty brutal. And then Calgary, actually, of those three teams or of the three teams in this chase, they have the easiest schedule remaining. I would love to see Calgary make it and Dustin Wolf get his shot in the playoffs. This guy has been a baller this season, should win Rookie of the Year if they get in my opinion. Sorry, I said it, but
No, I'm right there with you. Plus, like the Saddle Dome in the playoffs. I mean, come on,
yeah, no, who wouldn't want to see that? They would I mean, them versus Winnipeg in round one, that would kind of rock a little Western Canada action.
that would be sick.
But that about wraps up the playoff slash standing updates. We're gonna let Mac do some trivia, and then we'll get on out of here.
All right, yeah, this is a fun one. So, we're gonna talk about goalies, current goalies. We're not going way back. We're talking about the current NHL season. And I need from you two things. Well, technically six things, but two categories. I need for you to tell me the top three goalies who have the most above 950 games in the NHL this season. So the three goalies who have played the most above 950 games in the NHL this season. And then I also need the three goalies who have played the most below 800 games in the NHL this season. This one is a little surprising, I would say, the top three on there. And to give you one hint right off the bat, there's one guy who's top three in both.
I have a funny feeling I might know a guy who's in both.
Okay.
Would Mr. Tristan Jarry make an appearance here?
Nope, that would just make too much sense.
Damn it.
Could I get Ilya Samsonov?
No, you cannot.
Okay.
In
Um,
fact, I don't think either of those guys are. Yeah, I don't think either of those guys are top 10 in either.
oh wow. All right, let's for above 950, let's just get Hollebuck in there.
Yep, he's number two. He's had 18 games this season above 950. That's pretty
That's
insane.
ridiculous.
How's LT? Is he up there?
He is tied for fifth with a bunch of other people.
Okay.
He's had 11 of them.
Let's go let's go Stolars.
Nope, he's not top 10 on either list.
Fuck me.
For above, I'm gonna go Ottinger.
That's
He
a good
is
guess.
also tied with Thompson for five, or at in fifth place with 11 of them.
Gotcha.
Oh, I know one of them for below. Georgiev has to be. Has to be. Maybe?
Nope, he's not even top 10 on the list.
Oh my God.
Is Mrazek one of the below ones?
He is not.
Wow.
Actually, he's on the list, but he's not top three.
Okay.
Well, okay, technically he's actually, yeah, no, he's not. He's not.
Okay.
Give me Bobrovsky for above.
Bobrovsky is
Nice.
tied for third with Philip Gustafson, so I'll give you that one. So you've got for above 950, tied for third, you've got Bobrovsky and Gustafson both have 13. Then you've
Hmm.
got Hellebuck's got 18, and there's one guy above that.
Hmm.
Bassi.
Vassy has 19,
Okay.
so
Okay, so
that'll
he's
round that out. So now below 800, I need the guy who's got number one, which is shocking to me, and then I need the two guys who are actually tied for second.
I'm only saying this because you said it's shocking, but Igor struggled for a little bit of the season at the start. No.
Nope,
Okay. Below.
Low. Darcy Kemper.
nope. He's had a
Okay.
pretty good year. In fact, he's tied for fourth with
Oh,
12 above 950, actually, Kemper's.
I
Good for
think I
him.
might know this.
Go.
Saros.
That's a good
Nope.
guess.
He's on the list, but he's only had three games below
Okay.
800. The
No,
number one goalie has had seven games below 800.
and it's not Georgiev. That's
And
like,
the other two are tied for second. They've both had five games
oh,
below 800.
not Georgiev. Fuck me. Grubauer.
Grubauer is on there, but he's only had four, so he's not in the top three. He's
God damn.
close.
Mm.
Elvis.
Um, no, not on the list.
Swayman.
Uh, ooh.
Not on the list.
Give me he's had a good season, but maybe I don't know. Ursan?
Nope. Don't forget I told you one of the guys in the top three that you already got for above is also in the top three for below.
Oh, that's right.
So it was Vasi, Hellebuck, and who was the third one? Um,
someone tied with Gustafson, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, who was it? I said it, and
You
he
did
was like, "I'll
say.
give you Gustafson too." I said it. Who did I
Yeah.
say?
That's a great
This is the
question.
correct answer, by the way.
It's been a long day, boys.
We had Bob Vassie. Who's the
It's
other one?
It's
Bob. It's
Bob.
Oh, it's
Bob.
Bob. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So Bobrovsky is tied for second. He's had 5 games below 800. I'll tell you, he's tied with Alex Lyon, who has also had
Okay.
5 below. Now
That
I
wow.
just need the guy, the number one. This guy has played 7 games below 800 this season, and it's funny to me. It's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed it. It's not necessarily shocking if you really think about it, but I would not have guessed it.
Is he a starter or is he the backup?
He's a starter.
Okay.
It's gotta be like someone in like Buffalo, Pittsburgh, like.
Binner?
mm,
It is Bennington.
Okay.
It's
wow,
Jordan Bennington. Seven
wow.
games below 800.
I
That
guess
makes
And
they
makes
did have
sense.
like a really shitty start to the year,
it's
so
true. It's true. If you think about it, it kind of makes sense. But
yeah. Definitely
when
not
I saw
someone I
that
would have been
list,
like, oh, right
yeah,
off the
when
bat.
I saw that list, it has his picture on the side of the list because he's at the top of it. And I was like, wow, that is not what I was expecting to see. But
That was a good one.
yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Good trivia. Any final notes before we wrap up here, fellas?
If you're for some ungodly reason going to be at the Minnesota Wild Capitals game on Thursday, March 27th, come say hi.
Oh, real quick, mention this now. If you are in the Baltimore area on Sunday, April 6th, Nick and I will be hosting a Caps watch party at Don't Know Tavern, tried and true. We've done it a couple times in the past. We will be hosting a watch party for the Caps game. I believe it's a 12 or 1 p.m. start against the Islanders on the road, so it's an away game. Come hang out, come watch the game with us. Maybe we will be in goal record territory by then. Who knows? So mark your calendars. We'll keep you guys updated on that and blast it on the socials
Yeah. Shout out to Don't Know. They're the best.
for sure. All right. Appreciate all the love and support as always. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next one.